Who you were before you met the narcissist. Think about that for a minute. So many times people forget who they were before they met this person. People forget who they were when they were trapped. People forget how well their life was going before they met the person. You need to remember where you were and who you were before you met the narcissist, because there are three versions of you. First version is who you were before you met them. The second version is who you became when you were trapped in the cycle with them. The third version is the strongest, most galvanized version of you known to humankind. That's the healed version. That's the version you're working on right now. That version must be accomplished by you, which means you have to put the energy that you were putting into the other person into yourself. And you're beginning to do that, or you've done it. But who you were before you met the narcissist, I can assure you this. You were a person that had promise. You were a person that had empathy. You were a person that had a very, very high bandwidth to tolerate the average human being. Yeah, I said it. You're also a person who was a clean slate, an open book, who was uneducated on narcissism. You didn't realize that there were people out there that would take advantage of you. Way back when, before you met the narcissist, you probably had seen things on the news or seen movies or videos, or you had watched clips of people getting taken advantage of, and you probably thought to yourself, wow, that poor person, that'll never happen to me. Never gonna happen. I'm too good, I'm too smart, I'm street smart, I know what's going on. Well, not so fast. Now you see how it works. You see, you thought that. You thought that, yeah, you had the answers to how people were and how they behaved. Well, you didn't. I didn't either. Now I do. I can read energy very clearly. My hope is you're either beginning to be able to read energy or you've already mastered it, which means this. The narcissist targeted you. They have that sixth sense. It's a predatory sense, if you will. It's an instinct to trap people, to smother them, to choke them out of what is known as supply. And the narcissist has been slithering their way through this planet since time began. They're still doing it, although their time is numbered. Their time's almost up, truth be told, because we, the collective consciousness of the planet, we're getting stronger. Now, having said that, you didn't know these things way back when. You're learning them right now. You're also learning that you're stronger than you know. You're also learning that you, yes, you are not alone. I'll say it one more time in the middle of this video, at the beginning. You are not alone, no matter what you think, you're not. I'm in the same boat with you, and there are so many billions with a B, billions of us in the same boat. Now, some of us are at the front of the boat, some of us in the middle, and some of us are in the back. It doesn't matter where you are on the boat. The point is you are getting as far away from said person as fast as you can, and you're working towards elevating and arriving at that pinnacle of indifference. That's what I do each and every day by creating videos. It's what I do each and every day by providing one-on-one sessions with people. If you're interested, you should drop an email at narcdailyvideos@gmail.com. One more time. Drop an email if you would like a one-on-one session with me at narcdailyvideos@gmail.com. Having said that, who you were before you met the narcissist, you were thinking that life was a bowl of cherries. You were thinking that life was going to get better and that perhaps you would find your soulmate, or you would find the yin to your yang, or the person that completed you, or you would find the storybook happy ending of the Disney-esque pictures or movies that you had seen in the past. And this was what you were told when you were younger, that the white picket fence, the wife or the husband, the two dogs, and living happily ever after was the path. Well, again, they were movies, they were fairy tales, etc. You were believing that until when? Until that was all shown to be non-reality. Now, why I'm sharing that is the narcissist knows what they're doing. They had done to you what they had done to people before they met you, and they're still living. They're doing it right now with other people. But the narcissist saw you. They approached you. They infiltrated your life. This is way before you knew what narcissism was, and way before you knew who this person is you're considering. And they assimilated themselves with you. They glommed onto you. Maybe they started working out in the same gym with you. Maybe they started going to the gym at the same hours that you were going. Maybe they started to share a car ride with you. Maybe the car ride turned into being roommates. Maybe roommates turned into romance, and the rest is history. Or maybe the person you're considering was a person you worked with, and maybe they were a new person in the company. They started up the ranks with you, and they were at an entry-level position. Well, you two were going to be in it together, right? Eventually you were going to run the company and everything was going to be great and have your same corner offices and all that. Well, Once this person, who turned out to be toxic unbeknownst to you, realized that people were actually paying attention to you and not them, and that you had all the good ideas, not them, and that you could glide up the corporate ladder effortlessly because of who you are, although probably it didn't happen that quickly, but maybe it did, then they were jealous of you. What happens? Next, insert smear campaign. Now you're not getting the promotions, the corner office, or you're not invited to the get-togethers, the happy hours on weekends, etc. You've been ostracized, you've been smeared, and now there's a target on your back. You see, you didn't know any of this way back when. Now you're understanding a lot more. And all these nuggets of wisdom I'm dropping on you, many of them are very difficult for your average human being to wrap their head around. But each and every one of them should check a box with you. Because again, I shared this in yesterday's video and I'll throw it at you right now. Go back to the body of that relationship when you were trapped in the narcissistic fog, in the devaluation stage, and in the trauma bond. Were you gaslit? Yes, you were. Did you know what gaslighting was? No, you didn't. Did you experience rage fits? Yes, you did. Did you know what a rage fit was? No, you didn't. Did you experience triangulation? Of course you did. Did you know what triangulation was? No, you didn't. Did you experience financial abuse? I can assure you, you did. And you may say, well, not as much, Andrew. I really didn't experience financial abuse. Not to the level that you're speaking of. Well, fair enough. Maybe you didn't. But watch this. Maybe you didn't have 10, 20, 100, or upwards $1,000 taken from you, or whatever was taken. Who knows? Everyone's circumstances are different. But watch this. This also is financial abuse. You ready? Here we go. You're with a workmate, someone you have a job with, and you guys go out to lunch 5 days a week. And it's your turn to pay Monday, their turn to pay Tuesday. You go back and forth, all those things. Well, that works very well until when? You got it, until it doesn't. And now the said person is claiming poverty, that they don't have money to pay for their lunch. And if you could just float them just this week, they'll get you back next week. Well, that's what you do. Next week turns into the week after. And the week after, next thing you know, you're supporting their lunch habits and they're ordering more than they usually would. And maybe now they're taking to-go bags. Who knows what they're doing, but you're footing the bill. Is that financial abuse? Oh, by the way, you were never paid back the money. Was that financial abuse? Damn straight it was. Now you could say, no, it wasn't. It was just a person who fell on hard times. Well, we all fall on hard times, and there's an expression with that, which I've never used in a video, and I'm not going to start now, but what I will share with you is this. That person knew that you were an empath. They knew that you were a good person, and they knew that they could get some free lunches out of you. That's financial abuse, any way you cut it. Now you may ask yourself, oh my gosh, it is, but how could that person live with themselves? That's the $1 million question, which I will answer for you right now at the 8-minute mark. When you don't care about other people, there's nothing to think about. When you don't have a conscience, there's nothing to think about. When you believe that this whole planet revolves around you and your tiny little pea brain, there's nothing to think about. When you continue to blame people for your own misgivings and punish people for being themselves, there's nothing to think about. See where I'm going with this? But you didn't know any of this. So going back to the beginning, as I shared with the thumbnail, who were you before you met the narcissist? You were an open book. You were a clean slate. You were naive. You were vulnerable. You were wearing your heart on a sleeve. And you eventually would have met a narcissist. You may say, well, how do you know that, Andrew? Well, I do know that because this is the lesson of a lifetime. It's the test of a lifetime that I've passed with flying colors. And my hope is that's what you've done. But you see, if you didn't meet the narcissist that you're considering because you didn't know about narcissism, you would have met somebody else. And maybe that person would have done more damage. Now you're probably saying, you have to be kidding me. How could somebody do more damage to me than the person that already did the damage to me? Well, that's a question for you to answer. But what I will share with you is this. There's always a bigger fish in the ocean. There's always a bigger apex predator. So no matter what you think the narcissist did to you, and I'm sure they did a lot of damage, and my heart goes out to you, it really does. But your story is your story, and the narcissist did to you what they could do to you. Example, let's say that you had, I'll use money for a quick example. Let's say that you had $100,000 to your name when you met the narcissist. Well, you got financially abused to the tune of approximately 100 grand. If you had a million, add a zero. If you had 10 million, see what I'm saying? This is how it works. So it's the same thing with your energy, with your relationships, with your access and everything. Whatever level of supply you had, that's the level that the narcissist took from you. And truth be told, they took a little bit more than you actually had in you. Whether you know it or not, they took every last drop out of you, which is why, think about this one. Every time you were with the narcissist, you had to be on high alert. Even when you weren't with them, you were on high alert. You were always walking around on eggshells and you were always waiting for the next shoe to drop. Well, When they would disappear for a couple days, you could exhale and be like, wow, they're not here. I feel lighter. I can actually sleep, or I can do some things I want to do. And I wonder why that is. The reason why it is because you were in a toxic, life-threatening, debilitating, challenging relationship from hell. And that person knew it. So when you were with them, you were being sucked down the vortex to the dark energy. When you were away from them, you could replenish your battery. And that's the push-pull, the high-low, and that's the energetic exchange with the narcissist. Now you're learning so much about narcissism. So stay with the last few minutes of this video, and you're going to unpack a couple more nuggets of wisdom. Who you were before you met the narcissist, you were a person who was thinking that life would improve, it would get better and better. All along knowing that, yeah, would you have some trials and tribulations? For sure. Would things go your way all the time? Absolutely not. But up until that point, things had gone well for you. Example, I'll give you an example with university. Say you went to university or college, well, or high school. Whatever class or whatever level it was, maybe there was a course that you didn't want to take. It was a challenge for you. It was difficult, but you knew you needed to pass that one class to graduate. What did you do? You hunkered down and you studied, and maybe you got a C, but it doesn't matter. You graduated. Maybe you got an A+. Maybe you became the valedictorian of your class. I don't know what happened, but what I do know is you fought through it and you graduated. Well, that's what you have to do post-narcissistic relationship. You need to put all that energy that was going out the window into said person, yes, the narcissist, into yourself. And you need to understand that if where you are right now is where you want to be, stay there. If where you are right now is not where you want to be, you have work to do. But who you were before you met this person, you were thinking that things would get better and better and better. And they did until they didn't. And this is what the narcissist did. They threw a huge roadblock in the trajectory of your life. They threw a huge hurdle or obstacle in the path that you were on. And they changed everything about you. They changed your clarity. They stole your clarity, if you want the truth. They tried to steal your identity. This is your fingerprints, your identity. They tried to steal that. They definitely stole your money. They broke relationships. They stole your time. I can assure you your health took a hit on multiple levels, which I won't get into in this video. And they did the best they could to fracture anything that made you you. Anything that made you you. It's very simple, a very simple example of how the narcissist does things to people that people don't pay attention to until it's too late. Here's an example. Think about when you were living with the narcissist, if you were living in the same dwelling as they were. Did you have to clean up after them? Of course you did. Did you have to cook? Probably. Did you have to do the laundry? Most likely. Did you have to pay the bills? I know you had to do that. But on top of that, also, you had to tolerate their slamming of cabinets, their uncleanliness, their perhaps not being present in the house, meaning with you as often as they should have been. You see, the narcissist, the house to the narcissist, it's nothing but a place of four walls that they can abuse people, that no one on the exterior, outside of those four walls, will ever know about. It's essentially a house of horrors. And you may say, whoa, that's rough. Well, it is rough, but it's true. If you lived in the same house as a narcissist, you know many things. One, you had a voice, but it was never heard. Two, you had an opinion, it was never respected. Three, when they came home, let's say the car drove in the carport, you would have to stand up at attention and act like you were busy, doing dishes or cleaning or organizing magazines or getting ready to prepare dinner. I don't know what you were doing, walking the dog, but you had to act like you were busy, because if you were sitting around doing nothing, essentially recharging your battery, they would punish you for doing that. Another thing I will tell you, if you live with a narcissist, you would be holding your breath when they would open the front door. When they would open the front door, you never knew if it was going to be Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde, meaning you never knew which mood the narcissist would be in. If they were in a great mood, you could exhale. Whew. All right, I think tonight's gonna be maybe okay. I don't know, I'm not sure. I'll see how dinner goes. But if they were in a bad mood, then you knew, ouch, this is not gonna go well. But what would you do? You wouldn't disappear into your room or the bedroom or somewhere and get away from them. You would go try to comfort them. You would go give them a hug and say, how was today? Knowing, because you're emotionally intelligent, as am I, and you're emotionally aware, as am I, you would know that maybe if you gave them a little hug or said, hey, are you okay? How's today going? Knowing that maybe, just maybe there's a little crumb of humanity inside of that person. But what would they do? They would shrug their shoulders or say, get away from me, or I don't need a hug, or it's not your problem, or none of your business, or I'll deal with it, or when's dinner ready, or I'll be back in 3 hours, or they would do whatever they wanted to. But what would they do? They would punish you for being you. They would punish you for caring. They would punish you for doing the right thing. That's why you need to get as far away from these people as fast as you possibly can. That's why these people never change. I'm talking about the narcissist. And that's why they're sinking ships and ticking time bombs. And that's why there are 3 versions of you. And that's why when you go back in time, like I just did, and you remember who you were before you met the narcissist, really think about what you were doing way back when, where your money went, how well you were sleeping, how well you were looking, how your clothes fit, the foods you were eating, the traveling you were doing, the books you were reading, the exercise classes you were taking, all of the friends that you spent time with. Think of all of how it was way back when. Then you meet the narcissist, your friends disappear, your money goes to them, you have no sleeping patterns because they're disrupted. You can't do anything right by the narcissist no matter what because they're punishing you. You're not getting the cute emojis, yet you're expected to pay their rent. You're not getting the time of day, yet you're expected to be on call. You see, you can't win. You couldn't win, and you'll never win when you're with the narcissist. That's why you may think right now that the new supply is living their best life. They're not. They're getting peppered with abuse. They're getting peppered with the same abuse you used to get peppered with. So before I close the video, I'll share this. Who you were before you met the narcissist, you were one strong, absolutely amazing, resilient, empathetic, kind, loving, stable, healthy person. That's who you were. Who you became when you were trapped in the cycle is a person who was being fed off of. Now that's a little graphic, but it's true because the narcissist takes bite sizes out of people. When you're in the narcissistic relationship, it's akin to death by 1,000 paper cuts. I've said that ad nauseum because it's true. All right, fast forward. Who you became post-narcissistic relationship after you healed, that's the best version of you will ever experience. It's a taste of this thing called humanity that is the most pleasurable experience known to any human being ever. Because this is when nobody, and I mean nobody, can any longer poke you or prod you or push your buttons because you don't have any more buttons to be pushed. You've now been trapped in a den of horrors, in a house of horrors, in a relationship from hell that to the exterior world, no one even knew that that's where you were, but you were in your own invisible mental prison. When you got out, you didn't even know where you were. You didn't even know what happened to you. You escaped. Whether you were discarded or whether you ended it yourself, any way you cut it, you're out. When you're out, you stay out. So now that you're out and you realize, oh my God, I can't believe that these places exist, meaning narcissistic traps, narcissistic fog existences, and zombie-like, trance-like states, all these things, they do exist. I was there for 6 years. 6 years of my life. I don't know how long you were in it, but I can tell you if you were in it 1 second, it's 1 second too long. That's why once you get the wisdom, you need to close the chapter of the book on the narcissist once and for all. You need to leave them in the rear view mirror, and you need to remember who you were before you met them, who you became when they spun your world upside down, and who you are now that they're out of your life once and for all, finally. That's why I'm creating this video, because who you were, that person is a totally different person than who you became, and who you became is a totally different person than who you are. Play this video, play it multiple times, share it with anybody who could use it. You need to understand you're on the healing path just like I am. We are all of us healing. Some of us are further along. Others, it's early days, but no matter how you cut it, we're all helping each other. Every single one of us who is trapped in a narcissistic abusive cycle, we are all doing our part to remove narcissism from our energy field, our proximity, and anything to do with us. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning. No matter where you are on the planet, you are not alone. I love you all, and I'll talk with you tomorrow. A couple quick things. One, you need to remember who you were before you met the narcissist. I touch on that, I would say 4 or 5 times a week in my videos, because you need to remember how strong you are. You need to remember who you were and what your beliefs were and your core values and how you spent your 24 hours. I'm going to skip through the part when you were trapped in the cycle because I'm not going to give that more energy for the end of this video. But now you need to remember where you are right now. And if where you are is where you want to be, it's fantastic. If where you are isn't where you want to be, keep working, keep moving forward, and keep understanding that you are stronger than you know. And above all, remember this: you are not alone. You are not alone. I love you all, and I'll talk with you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Bye.